control debate. And while Republicans and gun rights activists have long said that gun control is not the answer to preventing such tragedies like this, the NRA and the Trump administration are now opening up to one area of the regulation, some common ground here, right? A possible ban on bump stocks. The device, which police say was used by the Las Vegas shooter, allows for a weapon to fire continuously, some 400 to 800 rounds in a single minute. In essence, it turns a semi-automatic weapon into almost an automatic weapon. The Obama administration's ATF approved the devices in 2010 after determining they did not violate federal law because they didn't really change or alter the physical makeup of the weapon. These were originally created for gun owners with disabilities. The NRA is now calling for a review of the federal law allowing them, and top Republicans have indicated they are open to possible restrictions. Watch.
I didn't even know what they were until this week, and I'm an avid sportsman, so I think we're quickly coming up to speed with what this is. Fully automatic weapons have been banned for a long time. Apparently this allows you to take a semi-automatic, turn it into fully automatic, so clearly that's something we need to look into.
Yeah, but the question is, will bump stop regulation make a difference? And is it enough to prevent these types of tragedies, these types of attacks that we see more often? We want to bring in Steve Rogers now and get his opinion on this. He's a former member of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. And Steve, we just told you kind of the lay of the land here, where there seems to be some common ground on this, right? You see a lot of Republicans, the NRA, you have Newt Gingrich coming out the other night saying, you know what, maybe these bump stocks are not the right way to go. Maybe we just ban these things and we can maybe solve some of these issues. What's your take on that?
Well, Trace, the press secretary, the president's press secretary earlier said that the president really set the tone to bring the country together, to unite. And the NRA, I'll tell you, I was amazed myself, actually comes out and follows the president's lead and said, you know what, let's look at these bump stops. Let's look at these this little piece of equipment that may have to be reviewed by the government. And I've got to tell you, I don't believe myself it'll have any significant impact on the gun issue. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is, Trace, and many of us believe this all along, the only way you're going to stop gun violence, in the opinion of many, and I agree with this, is to make sure that legally owned, people have a legal right to carry a weapon across this country. Mm-hmm. The best defense against the bad guy is the good guy having a weapon. And it's not going to turn into the Wild West, as many people believe that will be the case. So we have to take a look at enforcing the Second Amendment of the United States of America. Right. Give the people a right to defend themselves.
And Steve, I hear where you're coming from. I do. But my question is, if you've found some common ground, if you have all these, these people looking for more gun laws, and then you have the gun rights activists, and they're starting to come together a little bit, and there's a chance that maybe these bump stocks can do a little less damage if you take them away. So what's the harm? What are you saying if they decided to ban these things tomorrow? Who does it hurt, and what is the harm?
No harm, Trace, no harm at all. It's not going to turn the tide on gun violence, and that's my point. Look, it may prevent someone from getting this piece of equipment sooner if they have ill will use of it like this guy did, but this is morphing into a war of words on the gun rights of this country. And that's what you would hope, that there's not going to be this heated debate all over again whether people should be armed or not. I think the Second Amendment settles that, and I give credit to the president for at least opening up the conversation again.
And I will give you that, because you have a lot of these people who are gun rights activists saying, the truth is that if you give them the bump stocks, then they're going to come for the guns. It's only a matter of time before they come for the guns. And I hear what you're saying, Steve, but I also want to get your take on a different thing. We found out today that there's a possibility that this shooter was planning other attacks, right? I mean, he cased places like Chicago and the Las Vegas downtown area, the Fremont experience, and possibly Boston. What do you make of him actually spending so much time looking at places, making reservations at Lollapalooza, a hotel that overlooks that park? Do you find that unusual, or do you find a pattern where he was trying to build up to something like this?
Well, a couple of revealing things today, Trace. I do find that as a pattern where he was looking for a target of opportunity. And I believe that when he saw those fuel tanks in Las Vegas, he thought to himself, this would be a tremendous event. had he been able to strike those tanks with bullets. And the sheriff, remember the sheriff when he said he talked about maybe accomplices? Well, I'll tell you what, I kind of agree with the sheriff, and I believe the sheriff was thinking about planning, not operational. I don't think there's enough evidence to show that there was anyone else involved in the operation and execution of this attack, but there may have very well been, and it may be uncovered later, that there were some people involved in the planning of this. And I believe that's what the sheriff was actually talking about.
Although I should point out, I had a bit of a debate tonight with the Attorney General of Nevada, and saying, because he says, you know, the truth is the sheriff did come out and say that he believes there were accomplices, there were helping this killer, but he didn't really mean to say that because he doesn't have any evidence of that, and he hadn't really slept in 3 days. And what he meant to say is, boy, it would be amazing if he pulled this off alone, but he may very well have done that. What about the makeup of the car bomb, Steve? The fact that he had all this tannerite, you know, ammonium nitrate, 1,600 rounds of ammunition inside this car, and the possibility of a car bomb that changes the whole dynamic of what we're covering tonight.
Oh, sure. Look, one of two things he was going to do with that car bomb. Park it near those fuel tanks and then shoot at that car and blow it up, and you'd have a catastrophe beyond description there. Or two, had he planned to get away, he may have very well got into that car and may have gone to a different venue or that hotel itself and just blow it up. He was on a suicide mission, Trace. There's no doubt about that. He wanted to die a martyr, and apparently it didn't work out being a martyr, but they were able to, thank God, take him down.
Yeah, and I will say, though, without the bombs and without the other venues for 58 families, this was a catastrophe without measure. Steve Rogers, great of you to join us. Unprecedented. Great of you to join us, sir. Thank you. Always great insight.
Thank you, Trace.
Well, disturbing new questions emerge